Hello, everybody, and welcome to She and Cheer Holiday Cooking. So I decided to share with you today two of my favorite recipes, one of which I completely came up with on my own as an answer to stuffing, right? I mean, who doesn't love stuffing, but it's intense, it's heavy, and a lot of us are trying to avoid gluten. So I have stuffing, not stuffing, or not stuffing stuffing that I'll be making today. And I'm also going to make one of my favorite fall winter favorites, which is squash soup. So I will start with the squash soup. So we have squash, and you'll notice, yes, I bypassed a step. One of the most important parts of cooking is the prep process. So almost that meditative process of connecting with the food. And you'll see that one of the things I've done, everything is roughly about the same size. So that's something energetically when you're preparing food, that is a goal of when you're chopping and shopping. So be conscious and aware of that. You don't have to be obsessive compulsive. So squash is an awesome food because of course it's in season, but also it's really nurturing for our digestive system. So that is the reason why I've chosen squash today. I'm going to add a little bit of apple, which is also good for our digestive system. And when you think of apples in general, the essence and energy of an apple is just phenomenal because they have to take in all of the seasons. They have to take in all the different lunar cycles, and all of that goes into this apple. Even when you think about in the springtime, when the bees and the birds are interacting with the tree. So all of that energy is right there in the apple. I'm also going to be working with the soup with scallions or green onions. So this vegetable is awesome for our lung and our digestive system and our liver. So if you're curious, like, what am I talking about with this? So in general, when we think about the stomach has to help us digest and process everything. So that's one of the many reasons to support the stomach. When we talk about the liver energy, the liver is our organ system that's helping us to balance emotions and process stress, which sometimes we can be experiencing a lot of emotions and stress during this time of year. So another reason to want to nurture that system. So that's what's the three main ingredients for our soup. And then I'm going to be working with, look at this, we have a little friend, a stink bug. Escort him. He is attracted to the walnut oil. So I choose to work with different oils. You know, a lot of times, I mean, before I started cooking in this way, I just had one oil in my kitchen. But there's essence and energy in the oil. I love walnut oil because it's going to help to support our kidney energy, our whole life force energy. And it does really well at high heat. So that's another reason I like it. Olive oil sometimes starts to turn at higher temperatures. So it's great to work with. It doesn't have any flavor. It's not roasted. So you can bake with it, you can saute with it. The other thing that I season just about anything savory with is called mushroom seasoning. So yes, it literally is powdered mushrooms. The key is that you want to get a mushroom seasoning that does not have MSG in it. So there's several different brands that you can find on Amazon or in a Chinese market. Just make sure it has no MSG. So that's just going to make whatever you're cooking pop. It has a little bit of a salty flavor. I'm also going to be using nutritional yeast in both of my dishes today. What I like about what nutritional yeast does is it makes things a little more creamy, and it has kind of a cheesy taste without adding the extra heaviness of dairy. And I'm going to be working with, I may not be saying this right, Shaoxing. It's the darker version of the Chinese cooking wine. Just a little capful will go into our soup at the right moment, and it adds just another little something something. So I'm going to start by putting oil in the pot. So I'm going to cook the whole soup in a pot. So we've got a nice big pot here that I've set at medium heat. And I'm just going to put enough oil in there to cover the bottom of the pot because I'm going to start by sauteing the scallions and get that essence of them to start to come through for this delicious soup. So I have actually included, I think there are 2 bunches of scallions here because I'm going to be using it for my other dish as well. When I chop them, I do about halfway up the green part, include all of the white, cut off the little stemmy part at the bottom, and halfway up the green. So I'm going to do about half of them in here. And then let those start warming up in there. A little more. So one of the things you'll notice is I'm not exactly precise when I cook. And that's one of the things I love about cooking, is that you can really allow your intuition to fly. That's why I get challenged by baking. There's just so much more of a science to baking and making sure you do things precisely. Because I like to do it to the moment. Every time you prepare this, it's going to taste a little different, like depending on how much scallion, how much apple you add. I'm going to give that a few minutes to heat up. And while that's heating up, I actually will go ahead and start simultaneously preparing. Can you see both sides? The stuffing, not stuffing. And let me talk to you about the ingredients in there. So yes, our familiar friend, the scallions, are back. Remembering that's going to help our digestive system and our liver. We're also going to use celery in this dish, which is really good for our lung energy. The organ that helps us with letting go. And the main staple of what's in, that's making it like stuffing, but it's not stuffing, is Chinese pearl barley and mung beans. So this is already pre-cooked, and I will make sure to include a link so you can learn about how to cook these. When they're not cooked, this is what the pearl barley looks like. This is not a barley that you're going to find in any grocery store unless it's a Chinese market, or you can order it online. So you notice it's these big, dense grains. Chinese pearl barley is really, really good for our digestive system, helping to keep that energy strong. It's also good for our kidney and our heart. For those of you who might be gluten sensitive, I have heard, and I have numerous patients who tolerate this without any problem. So there's something about the essence and energy that's different than other grains and barleys. The green mung beans, these you're going to find in most markets. So they're also in Ayurveda and Indian cooking. They're called moong beans, M-O-O-N-G, same thing. So these little green guys are a powerhouse for our liver energy. So they're really going to be supportive with helping that organ system that's helping us to process stress, frustration, balance emotions, and it's just about how everything flows in the body and that more traditional concept of helping us to detox and clear. So these are little powerhouses. So when I work with them, I like to just prepare a big pot and then cook with them throughout the week. So we're starting to sizzle over here now. Let that sizzle a little more. So it usually ends up being about 8 to 10 minutes to get this just really starting to release the essence of the scallion before I'll add in the squash and the apple. And the other thing that goes, this is a traditional herbal prep for the stuffing, not stuffing. So it's parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. So I'll put kind of roughly what I put in there, but I really just used what I had in my refrigerator and just was like, it smells good. It smells about right. Okay, so while that is sauteing there, we will simultaneously, I often will do this where I am, turn it on first, cooking similar dishes at once, like this, side by side, so we can get our soup and side dish going that have similar ingredients, just combined in other ways. So wok. The wok is going to heat up way faster than a pot. If you haven't worked with a wok before, that's something good to know. And we'll just go ahead and get that in there. So all this squash is going to go right into the pot. And I'm actually, I didn't mention it, but I'm going to use apple this time. This isn't something I've done in the recipe I have online, but I'm going to use some apple. I was just feeling that for the not stuffing too today. So I encourage you, like if you see me doing this or later you're trying it, and if there's something that pops into your head, like, ooh, I want to add cranberries or something else, or ginger to the soup like this, go for it, because that's your intuition that's coming in, and that's when you really start to expand in the kitchen, when you allow your intuition to be your guide. Okay, so now, with this soup, I'm going to go ahead and add in mushroom seasoning. So this is going to be salty, so depending on how salty you like things. I'm just going to do 3 little sprinkles. Mix that in. And I want to say that having this demo for you guys, I'm not trying to tell you that you should not have all the wonderful, amazing bounty that you usually have for Thanksgiving. Everything in life is about balance, right? So a lot of those foods that are so rich are also so connected to our ancestors and our families and love. They're made with such love. So of course, it's like we just balance it with these other things that we can bring in as new traditions. Okay, so I just added the nutritional yeast. I'm going to use a whole lot more in the stuffing. I found that's really one of the things that makes the stuffing, not stuffing, tastes like real stuffing. And for the soup, so I pre-boiled this water, and I'm going to pour in enough just to cover to the top of the squash. And I'm going to put a lid on it and let that start to simmer. So once to boil, and then we'll simmer it for about 20-30 minutes. And towards the end of that cook time, I'll add just a capful of the red wine. So we may or may not get there today, but literally I'll just open it and do a capful for that. So, the green onions, the scallions are going over here. And I'm going to go ahead and add the celery. I just realized I forgot an ingredient. I forgot the mushrooms. So, the other thing that goes into this is mushrooms, and they're right next door in my refrigerator. So we can pause, and go ahead and pause, and I'll go grab the mushrooms. Okay, so went next door and got my mushrooms. This is the real world. This happens sometimes. So while I was gone, my soup has started simmering nicely. So I'm going to turn that down a little. And I'm going to toss these mushrooms in. So the mushrooms kind of add a little bit more meatiness. And mushrooms are really good for our stomach and our lung energy. So when I've got that all came together, add a little bit of mushroom seasoning. I'm going to do heavier seasoning towards the end with this dish when I add in the mung beans and barley. And I do a little heavier with this than I do the soup. I'm going to put the apple in. We'll give the mushrooms a little chance to cook. So some other things that you can do just to stay supported during the heavier eating season that can also just support your overall health and well-being. Teas. So I have a lovely conversation with Karen Burr about all the wonderful warming teas. Warming is so important for this time of year, not only because it's colder outside, but because our digestive system loves to be warm. So, for example, while these are sauteing, I will show you ginger root. So ginger root, you can find this anywhere, and this is going to be more powerful than using ginger tea bags. So I don't even peel mine. I'll just rinse it, slice it. You can put, depending on how spicy you like it, 2 to 3 slices in your tea. Or if you're doing a pot, you can do more than that. Ginger goes really well, especially this time of year. So these are cinnamon sticks. Cinnamon as a powder is really hard to work with when you're doing it in tea. So you can do like half a stick if you're doing a cup of tea, or like a whole stick if you're doing a pot. I didn't mention it, so ginger. Ginger is going to be really good for your stomach energy, your lung energy, and your liver energy. A cinnamon stick is going to help to warm up the kidney energy. nurture the kidney. So one of my favorite teas together, I'm not holding my honey, but honey, which is good for the lung, with ginger and cinnamon together is a really yummy tea for this time of year. Another good essence to work with, which I think I'm going to actually bring into this dish today, is dried orange peel. I'm just going to break up some little pieces. So it doesn't matter what kind of orange. This happens to be clementine. So this is really good for the stomach and the liver. And when I talk about these organ systems, I've focused a lot on like their function in the body and emotions, but also when we just think about the process of digestion, the liver and the stomach have a really sensitive cooperative partnership. So they need to be working together in harmony for healthy digestion. So integrating the orange peel helps to nurture both of them and just adds a little extra zestiness. And you can do this into tea as well. Our mushrooms are just about good to go. So this dish we're sauteing first, but then the next step to give it, again, kind of more of that stuffing-like quality is that we'll bake it. All right, now I'm going to add my apple in. So you got to witness me being intuitive. I have the orange added in the apple. You guys have gotten to witness a little bit of my own intuition at work. I think that actually the last cooking thing I did, I wanted to add orange. It's not something I often do, but it is a fun little extra to work with. So this is actually ready to receive. We're going to do it's about 3 cups of barley, cooked barley, and mung beans. And I'm going to start just folding them in together, all those flavors. And this next step is going to be one that I encourage you to follow your taste, because you're going to add more, because stuffing tastes as good as it does because of the savoriness of all the combined flavors. That includes all of our herbs, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, all that in there. But also what we're going to add in with the mushroom seasoning, additional mushroom seasoning, and the nutritional yeast for that key dairy quality. Okay. So, this is a phase that you may have to use your own taste to decide when you're going to cut off the seasoning factor. And some of you may be going, there's no way that my family is ever going to touch this. I have fooled even the biggest meat eaters. They have no idea that this is completely vegan, gluten-free, all of it. Well, gluten gentle, because the barley has gluten, but it's just easier to process. Okay. And the nutritional yeast. This, again, I go heavy on this because this is really what kind of brings out that creamier quality. So I'm just giving a moment for all those seasons and flavors and ingredients to blend. And then the next phase for this dish is to cook it. So when you're ready, I mean, you can pre-prep it this way, and then when it's like about time that you're going to eat it, I would say like 20 minutes or so, just to kind of brown it a little bit, give it a little bit of that crunchier quality. At like 375 in the oven. And that's it. Not stuffing, complete. So over here, let's see. So as I mentioned, the soup we're going to usually simmer around 20-30 minutes. This needs a little more time. And towards the end, in the last 10 minutes or so, add a capful of the cooking wine. And the final phase for the soup is to puree it. And if you are blessed enough to have a Vitamix, I'm not going to do it today because it's not ready yet, but I would, it's an investment if you're thinking of what to put on your Christmas list. If you like soups, it's really, really awesome because you can puree it so smoothly. I actually will puree for 8 minutes. The kids love this. So I'll put the Vitamix on, try to make sure nothing's going to explode. The numbers are important. 8 is a sacred number in Chinese medicine, so it's the one that I tend to stick with, and you'll have nice, smooth soup. So you've got 2 different ways that you can integrate into your Thanksgiving dinner to create some balance, some chi and cheer. So thank you so much for joining me, and if you have any questions or you want to find different recipes, you can check me out at melissalaborsky.com. Thank you.